Good afternoon, everyone. I am Michelle Ironside Kinville. I am a funeral director at the Ironside Funeral Home in Oneida, New York, just 8 miles down the road. And I have been licensed since 2008.
I'm Michael Gorton. I'm from Long Island, Medford, New York to be exact. McManus Lawyers Funeral Home right smack in the middle of Long Island. I've been licensed for 22 years.
And I'm Brandi Reed. I'm with the Lakeside Memorial Funeral Home in Hamburg, New York, and I've been licensed since 2015.
For a little exercise this morning, I'd like everyone to raise your hand as high as you can. Now raise it a little higher. Very good. We're all striving to be the best that we can be, and that's our goal. What we want to do now is we have developed this fantastic STAR resident program. Now what? What comes next? Our proposal is a professional development program.
Thank you. So I know most of you here today, you're owners and managers. That's the majority of the people that are here today. For this exercise today, we're going to be, I knew I was going to do that. I erased it, didn't I?
Shutting off the slides, yeah.
For this exercise today, we're going to be talking about the hierarchy of the funeral home, about how the funeral homes are set up. Most of you guys and girls know what it is, but for this exercise, let's just go through it, okay? So we have the owners, okay? The owners own the funeral home, okay? But we're going to remove them from the hierarchy of the funeral home for this moment, okay? Because owners can be absentee owners, they could live out of state. You could have a corporate-owned funeral home in this situation. The owner and manager could be one and the same as well. So we're going to remove the owners from the triangle for the moment, okay? You've got your managers. They are the leaders of your funeral home. Underneath the managers, you've got your funeral directors, okay? They're the people in the trenches. They are following the manager's lead in what needs to be done for the funeral home to operate professionally. Under them, we've got your non-licensed employees. We're going to start off with residents, okay? Following the residents, we're going to have support staff. They're going to be your office managers, your administration, your secretaries, office managers. They're non-licensed staff, but they play a vital role, sometimes maybe even a little more important role than a resident within the operation of the funeral home itself. Following that, you've got your outside contractors. This is a broad range of people. These are people that you call on an at-needs basis. You might have your beauticians, you're going to have your door staff who are going to work the visitings. You're going to have pallbearers, livery drivers. You're even going to have contractors. You got a roof leak, you got to call somebody in. Okay, all these people that I just mentioned all follow the direction and the lead of the manager, whether it be on duty or for the whole funeral home, however your funeral home is operated. But owners, and even managers for this matter, think about this for a minute. Are you strong enough to handle the weight of this? How well trained, owners, are your managers to handle this? The problems that may develop, that you will see down the line as you go from the biggest point of the triangle down. Are you confident that your manager can handle this weight on their shoulders? Listen, it's great to lead. We all want to be leaders, okay? That's why most of us own our funeral homes, manage funeral homes. But in the traditional triangle, you see everything coming down from the top. I'll go back to that slide again. Everything comes down from the top. But really, everything does fall on top of that manager. And can that manager handle that pressure? Has he sought personal development to accept and succeed in that position? You've got to ask yourself that question, because asking those questions goes a long way in providing comfort to your families that come into your funeral homes. Is your manager comfortable enough and comforting enough to those who come in who've lost a loved one, and on top of it, handle this amount of pressure.
So this is just a technical
Oh, no,
hold-up,
we're not going to play this yet. That's fine. Leave it right there.
but I'm gonna come over here because I'm gonna have to play
Okay.
for it.
We all want to be the best that we can be. We all want to be better than the next person. We're competitors in our own right, not just as funeral directors. You want to be able to provide the best for your employees because that will then provide the best to your families. Funeral directors, managers need to be one step ahead. It is the families who turn to those managers, those directors, those leaders to serve up when they need help to serve from others. I lost myself here. 10 years ago, okay, there wasn't this issue of cremation that we all face today, okay? 10 years ago, we was, stainless steel caskets were coming into, were popular sellers. We don't sell those anymore. We sell, cremation rental caskets. We sell 20 keepsake urns. Times have changed. The type of person that is sitting across from us has changed. The type of people that we're hiring as funeral directors and as residents and as managers are changing as well. For years, we've learned as part of the Leadership Academy that there's this new group out there they're called millennials, okay? And we're all afraid of these millennials, okay? We know that, the baby boomers and Generation X, they work well together, okay? That's why there hasn't been this big, issue until now, because the millennials are coming into the workforce. The local associations are hearing about the problems, the state associations hearing about the problems with the millennials, but do you really know the millennials? Take a look at this.
Entitled, The Worst, the me generation. These are some words the media has used to describe millennials, people born between 1982 and 1993. But millennials' narcissistic label is unwarranted. The truth is that 7 out of 10 have participated in volunteer work. 8 out of 10 donated money, goods, or services last year. And more than 8 out of 10 say helping make a positive difference in the world is more important than professional recognition. They're called entitled, but a higher percentage of millennials than older generations agree with the statement, employees should do what their managers tell them, even if they can't see the reason for it. 80 million strong, millennials are the largest, most diverse, most educated generation in American history. Through science, technology, and forward thinking, millennials are reshaping the workforce and have the potential to turn the economy around. Promote Yourself is a playbook for millennials with
That ad won't be there. For 20 years, you've been operating your businesses, okay? And there hasn't been an issue or concern about millennials until now. So what are you doing to work with the millennials? Are you understanding them? Are you getting to know them? Or are you just telling them, do it my way, or take the highway? We have worked together this past year, and we've developed what we would like. There's a program in development that we would like to see happen, where there's education, there's training, and it helps you as the owners and managers, and even the directors, understand millennials. Listen, I'm always looking for my replacement. That's my goal. Somebody's got to replace me. I'm not going to be here forever. I'm doing this for 22 years, but somebody has to replace me. So that person who's going to replace me now is a millennial. But I'm not a millennial. But I'm learning how to work with millennials. Okay? And that's what this program is going to be all about. Before I turn it over to Brandi and Michelle, the days of washing cars, mowing lawns of your residents and some of your licensed funeral directors too is over, okay? It's time to focus and make us the best that we can be. Personal development programs that we've kind of come up with will help lead and take us to the next generation. By educating our licensed staff and giving them the tools and the teamwork together to help make work, performance, life, and in the end, profits better.
Thank you, Michael. So at this point, we've kind of touched on what the benefits of this proposal for this program can do for your funeral home. How it'll affect your staff, how it'll affect your hiring, and how it can help you integrate the millennial generation, which obviously I'm a part of, into your funeral home. Now let's focus on the families, because that's why we're all here. We have to ask ourselves a few questions. What do families get out of funeral directors that are working to be better? What does my consumer get out of a profession striving to be better? Better service, better product, and better relationships between provider and recipient. What's the most important thing to families? Monica Torres, a leader in the next generation mortuary services in Arizona, did some surveying. She surveyed funeral directors and she surveyed families. When asked, what do families think is the most important when going through funeral services? The funeral director said, value, bang for your buck. That's what the families want. They're always looking for the deal. That's not what the families said. The families said they are looking for compassion. They are looking for somebody who is going to help them through this emotional journey. Caring. Imagine that. Someone might be having a hard time because someone that they love and care about just died. What do happy families make? Happy families make positive comments. Happy families make decisions that make themselves happy, both at the time of the funeral services and down the road when they're reflecting upon their experience. Happy families help to grow our business. Now, how would you feel if you went into a doctor, your arm is severed, he slaps a Band-Aid on you, sends you out the door with a $10,000 bill? I imagine you wouldn't feel very nice and you'd probably bleed out pretty quickly. Sometimes as funeral directors, we neglect the emotional needs of the family. We are so focused on the person that died and getting families in and getting those services over with that we forget that the people sitting across from us might have a few things that they want to get off their chest. We have to put our counselor hats on from time to time and work on the feelings and healings that come with funeral service. We are death care providers, so we all have to care. Now, what happens if you live in a community that is filled with people who have emotionally been underserved? This creates general misery in the entire community. Picture everybody from your cab driver to your accountant to your neighbor just being miserable because no one took the time to ask them how they were doing after their dad or their sister or their neighbor passed away. This leaves us with a whole community that is uncared for, and that's just not good for everybody. Anybody. Sure, this is an exaggeration to a degree, but we need to be understanding that the people that surround us, the people we serve, all deserve to be cared for so that we can improve as a community as a whole. After all, you live there too.
So what we are proposing is a professional development program through the New York State Funeral Directors Association, something with specialized classes in order to support our employees and people that were working for us that need these extra classes or development. Things that we don't learn in school necessarily. And what we were taught in school, let me refresh your memory in case you forgot. Public health and technical. This is your embalming, your cosmetology, your microbiology, and that dreaded chemistry class. Your social sciences. This was health or history, psychology, sociology. And then you had business management, which was your math and accounting, things that nobody really paid attention to. And then your legal and regulatory and ethical. And then you had your general education, which was your English and your anatomy and pathology and your communication skills. Now all those things are well and dandy and you learn them in school just to pass the time and to make sure you get the grades. But then what? Then you go out and become a resident. You hopefully take the STAR resident program. Now what? Well, this is what we're hoping. We surveyed the public, or the
Members of
the association, thank you. And these are the responses that we got, that there are opportunities out there for the top 5. Effectively communicating with families. People's managers or owners said that their residents or funeral directors needed help working with communicating with families. Employee relations. Human resources, the hiring, firing, leadership development. That didn't come up in order. Okay. Business communications, emailing, scheduling, and phoning. And then financial management, which is the accounting, budgeting, profit loss statements, stuff like that. Things you need to learn in order to run a business, be a successful manager, or you might not necessarily know and didn't learn in school. Others answers also included managerial training, grief counseling and support, public speaking, and effectively writing an obituary. Then we asked, would you do more to be professionally development? Would you take a class? 57% said yes. 14% said no. And 27% were unsure. Then we asked if we would support a funeral director at your firm who was interested in a professional development. And 74% said yes. That's very encouraging. We're hoping that people want to better themselves and better our funeral profession. Now after all this, we're proposing that you take 4 classes and then you get a bronze level. Then you take 4 more classes and you'll get a silver level. Take 4 more, you get a gold, and by the end you'll be a platinum level. So when you go out and if you were looking for a new job, you could say, hey, I'm gold level certified from the New York State Funeral Directors with their professional development program. And maybe your funeral directors or your owners would be excited and ecstatic for that. Or if you already have an employee and they're taking these classes, then you could go out and advertise that you have a gold level certified employee. That is our goal and our hope, and we're proposing that. We'll see.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we all know that we're doing a good job. Hopefully you at least think that of yourself. We can all do a better job, and hopefully eventually we can all do a great job and truly provide the care and the level of service that everyone deserves. It is up to us, however, to strive for excellence and be the change that we want to see in this profession. We don't advance in medical care, car safety, or any other concern in this world by doing it the way that we've always done it. We improve by trying new things. Trial and error has led to every significant advancement in this world. So what I have to ask of all of you is, are you ready to be the change maker? Thank you for listening. At this time, we'll take questions, comments, concerns, or rotten tomatoes.
Careful what you ask for.
Yes, ma'am.
You got 5 topics back from the survey that you took, and it's a 16 course.
Well, that was what we're
Level?
proposing, yeah. Well, those are the top 5 that we received back. There we offered, I think there was 20 different options, but those got the most response back. They would
So
be
that would be
interested in.
your main focus for those top
Yeah.
5.
So if we can move this proposal forward, then we would develop the full program, but these are the main focuses that people are looking for that we found.
So in theory, what you want is 16 courses based off of those 5, or you want a ton of courses based off?
We'll branch out more to make sure that we cover every aspect that it takes to run a funeral home.
Okay.
One of the topics that came up was the obituary writing. Okay, that didn't appear on the flow chart, but that was a concern that people who filled out the survey had mentioned. It didn't make the top 5, but it was up there, so that's, you know.
Sure, yeah, answering the phones is another one.
Yeah,
We all
right.
know people who struggle with that. So, sir,
Are these going to be programs that are certified through the Bureau of Funeral Directing, or is it going to be a separate certification that will signify someone maybe has more management skills than another?
that's a great question. Those are some semantics that we haven't worked out since we're still in the proposal stages, but we would love to hear consideration and the things that we want to make sure that we can push through to make this as qualified of a program and as worth your while as it can be. Ma'am?
So I kind of have a follow-up question to that too, because I was going to ask if these count as CEUs. Even if they don't, are these classes that I can bring to my area where I typically do CEUs? If we have monthly meetings, can I bring a course to Rochester?
I think that's something that, you know, as this is developing, it's in the early stages, I think that's something that could come out of it. We don't know if any of these courses would be accepted by the Bureau for CEUs, but, you know, this is not about CEUs. This is about enrichment of the funeral directors, of you guys, to make our profession a 5-star profession, where there may be things that are lacking. Our association can get behind us and educate us and fill in the pieces of the puzzle that we just can't seem to get together.
Right, regardless of the credibility of each of these things, they would be programs that would enhance your skills as a funeral director, as a manager, or as a general business person. So those are all things obviously that are going to be worked through after, if we can get this past the proposal stage, but excellent question. Ma'am at the front?
Are you proposing that the classes are solely for managers? I know you said funeral directors too, but, I mean, is this going to be open to the public? Is this something that, I mean, if they're business classes, is this something that would be offered to the public? As far as, you know, you broke down all the people that work for you, is anyone under that balloon that works for you allowed to come to these classes?
I would think it would have to fall into the people who are members of the association, okay? So obviously you've got affiliates, you have, you know, emeritus members, you know, anyone that would fall under the umbrella of a member of the association would be entitled to take those classes. That's really the striving point, is obviously you want to have well-trained managers, but, you know, somebody's got to replace that manager at one point, so that's going to be the funeral director. I don't think, you know, at this point, the residents, you know, as you just saw, they would be trained under the STAR program. They would have some type of input from the STAR program. This is more for licensed individuals and for management positions.
Sir?
I apologize if you mentioned this in the beginning, but who will be teaching these programs?
Because we're still in the proposal stages, we haven't gotten that far, but again, if you would like to do some follow-up questions or help us, if we can get this past the proposal stage, we'd love to hear from you. Anybody else? Sir?
You mentioned millennials as an audience of who you need to connect with for the next generation. Is there part of the planning or any thought given to how this will specifically help us be able to connect with millennials?
I think it will, again, it's part of the planning stages, but I'm licensed for 22 years, so, you know, I'm Generation X. I'm not a millennial, but by attending the Leadership Academy this past year has enriched me and helped me understand how to work with millennials. And even Generation Z, which is going to be coming down the pike soon. So this is an area between networking, between teamwork, between breakouts, you can learn from each other and the problems that you may have had in your funeral home, and also from the support staff that the association has. The association has brought in great speakers for us this year that has helped all of us, and that's where we're looking for as a benefit from being a member of this association, can enrich us and help us work well, work better. And it's also working with the millennials in the funeral home, but you're also going to be starting to sitting across from millennials. You know, there's a whole nother angle too that as a manager and as a funeral director, you have to know who you're sitting across from. I briefly touched upon that, but that's important. You need to know, you need to be one step ahead of that person who you're sitting across from.
Right, and Michael, if I may,
Yeah.
I want to add in, even if we don't have a course that specifically says how to deal with millennials, by enhancing your management skills, by enhancing your business skills, by enhancing your communication skills, those will strengthen your relationships with millennials naturally, whether we focus specifically on it or just as a generality.
And also, if you are having trouble teaching a millennial, because we know the millennials are the most educated class or generation, then maybe you could send your millennial to a class and allow them to learn from somebody else who may have a better option of
Help bridge
teaching
that
them.
gap a little. Sir?
I thought this was New York State funeral directors, not New York State millennials. You know, how is this affecting me? I've been in business for 40 years, it's a family business, and my nephew's coming in, he's too young to do any of this, he's 27, he's only been licensed 5 years. How is this gonna help him? I don't understand what this is all about.
Well, sir, wouldn't you like to take a vacation at some point in time?
No.
No? Okay. Well, how about when you've got 3 death calls at the same time? Are you going to be able to go on all 3 of those death calls at the same time?
Yeah, it's because it's my family business, that's what we do, we take care of people.
Okay. All right, then maybe you won't benefit from this program. However, there.
Let me ask you a question. So who, the general day-to-day operations of the funeral home, you handle all of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you suffer from a heart attack
God forbid.
and you are unable to speak, how is your nephew, who's only got 5 years experience, going to be able to handle, let's go back to the triangle for a minute, he would have to fill in as your manager. How is he going to handle that? By enrolling him or allowing him to take part in this proposed program of professional development, he will have the tools and the assets to use to run your business in your
That's what he
absence.
thinks. I've already had a heart attack and I handle everything from the back.
You know what?
You need to.
You know what?
We would love to know how you did that. Perhaps you could perform a continuing education on that later. Do I have anybody else in the audience with a question? Wonderful. Well, thank you all for listening. It's been wonderful to do this presentation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it. Soft pause, hard pause.
Soft pause.
Soft pause.
Isn't that like a doggy treat, soft pause? Or soft,
I don't know, I just got some nice.
Sorry. There's a version of that. So just to put this in context for you, that was 27 minutes with questions.
Oh, knew it.
That's right, the
Okay,
first
we'll
one
need more.
longer.
It was. So just so you have it in mind, okay? So starting with, we'll start with Mike, and then we'll go this way. What felt good to you?
Everything. No, seriously, I had huge trepidations about it, and it flowed well. I had a goof and I messed up because I really got my first part down, but my second part was screwed up because I didn't have the clicker, okay, because I wasn't using a clicker, so I have to work on that. But otherwise, I think the handoff, the exchange, I think all of our delivery was excellent. I don't know. I want to hear the criticism.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that. Brandi, what felt good?
I think we're all pretty confident in ourselves to where we can speak to an audience and we don't have any issue with that part. Or at least I feel that way.
Thank you, so. that's
Yeah, we didn't
positive.
throw up, we didn't hear ourselves, so
That's
those are good
good.
things.
Michelle, how about you? What felt good?
Nothing.
It was horrible.
Yes, we had our point across.
Good. Okay, so we'll start with you. What do you want to change? Critique about yourself or the presentation?
I thought passing the clicker was awkward.
Yeah, we'll have to,
That was just.
we'll have to know where we are on
Yeah.
stage and execute.
Well,
I think maybe if we have two over
when I was done with it, I put it
Yeah,
down.
I saw that.
But I was like,
I don't think we'll have a table.
Yeah, that reach across was awkward. So
Yeah.
wasn't it?
So I'm thinking that maybe while one person's talking, they're up there, and then we're kind of here, making sure we're paying attention, making sure we're ready for our part. And as soon as we have our part, we do that exchange, they walk over, we do that pass, and then we're back up here. So that way they're not being distracted, focus is here and there.
Yeah, I'd love to see how
That's my
it's
thought.
laid out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's a good,
Brandi, what do you want to
see it in the
change?
video.
I think we have room to connect each of our,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like 3 separate presentations right now. So I think we need a little bit more crossfading. And to just really make sure that we're all honing back into, this is why we want to do this. This is why we want to do this. These are the reasons. You guys are doing a good job, but we want to do a great job.
My presentation, I have to memorize my second part a little bit better. I may have to add a slide with a clicker, but I don't know if that's going to work. So I have to develop that a little bit more. I have to memorize it more. I really got the first one down good, and then I had a little blip as I was starting the second one, and I lost it, and then another thought that wasn't on there came in my head, and I got all messed up.
Which is good because we have room for more content.
Exactly, exactly, because the second sheet I didn't touch.
Okay.
The second thought popped in my head, and I went with it.
Forgot what the hell we were doing when we walked in this
And
morning.
now I don't remember what that second part that I started talking about, that's not on that sheet, so I can't wait for that video.
The video, right? See, there's a benefit. Okay, from the peanut gallery, what positives?
You guys commanded the stage. I thought you looked very confident. I thought you did a good job with the question and answers. Even if you weren't sure about the answer, I thought you did a good job of wrapping up the question.
Thank you.
Okay. I think the inverted pyramid in the very beginning was super powerful. Like that was like, you did that and I was like, oh no shit. Like, that's really cool.
It is
So
a
I think
pyramid
that was
scheme.
like a really good way to start their presentation, and I like it. It's powerful. Like it makes you think about it, and like I even like the jaded people were like, all right, like I get where you're going with that. So that was really cool. I also think it was brilliant to have the non-millennial present about the millennials. Like, I think it was,
Yes, that was definitely on purpose.
I think like people would shut down if a millennial got up.
I'm like, hey, let's talk about millennials and how we can get along with them
That would
better.
go over well. So I think that was really a smart move. But overall, it was a great presentation. Really great, yeah.
Since it was so obvious that Brandi's the millennial, right?
Michelle is too.
I am a millennial.
We'll have to wait when they start talking about millennials.
Any other positive feedback for them? Thanks, guys.
Don't all rush
All right,
at once.
okay, here comes all the negative. Really? Really?
I also had the inverted pyramid was powerful. That was my wow factor. And I would love for you to build off of that some more. But that's not a critique, but I'm just saying a win. That had awesome. And then also Brandi's little phrase of the feelings and healings. I don't know if that's what you normally say, but stick with that because that was really cool. All right.
Yeah, and I liked your, Michelle, in the beginning, the good training and, Bruce, that was really awesome.
Yeah, we didn't steal that.
It's all good. We don't know where you got that from.
No, but I thought you all were very confident, spoke very well, and you came across really well.
I like the segue to start program.
We support that.
I tried. I even got a little work-life balance in there. Just,
Well, now we know yours, so we can be like, and these guys.
Positive?
Yeah, I really like how you guys incorporated each other's presentations a little bit into it. And I thought the same thing about the pyramid, like, all these people are crushing this little guy at the bottom and he doesn't know what to do. I was like, wow, really, really clever.
Doesn't it make you want to be a manager?
I know.
if anything, that makes me want to be a manager.
Oh.
Yeah.
It does. Does. Makes me want to be a manager.
That's why you're not a millennial.
That's right.
Oh, well.
It was perfect.
Jerry's next.
The other part that I loved was, I think it was Michelle that really, I wrote it down. You presented it like you were on Shark Tank. And that's what
Yes.
how I've
That's
always
exactly what I thought. I
envisioned
couldn't think of what, I'm like, I've seen this before.
But it was so awesome, and I think that's how you should. Like, I would, in fact, consider or encourage all of you to consider proposing it that way, because really what you're trying to do is get buy-in on that. So I loved how you approached that. That was
Michelle,
very
you sold the surveys.
Okay. Any other positive feedback? All right, critiques.
All right.
Suggestions, yes.
My only suggestion is if you guys find you're running too short on your program, have more of the survey data available, because there's a lot of data junkies like me in an audience that just have them on the desk, and if you think you're looking at your watch and it's a little light, just start rattling off stats.
The only thing I did notice was, Brandi, you had mentioned there's a little bit of a disconnect between the three of you. there should be more compassion.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the video itself, and there were a few things said in the video that maybe the crowd wouldn't pick up on, but at one point it was like, millennials want to make a difference. They don't really care about professionalism, and this crowd is looking for both of that, you know, making a difference and professionalism. So the video, I don't know that I love, but there is a disconnect between the three.
So, Michael, maybe we can just take some data from the video and throw that in there?
Sorry, I know you
And
were.
then
I love the
No,
video
no, no,
idea,
I, we needed,
just- or
I wanted something with a video, that was what we found this
You should do
morning.
it, yeah, you should.
The video idea. So
I like the video
another
idea.
Option, like, I think it's engaging, but.
I do too.
And I think we, like how it said that they're the most educated. The millennials want to learn, that's not,
Yeah.
so we need to more tie that in.
Yep.
Well, they this is education.
Yeah, like they would take
Not professionalism. That they'd rather change the world than deal with professional recognition.
Yeah, professionalism too, because I wrote it down today.
I'll watch, we can all watch it again and.
Yeah.
You could actually reinforce some of the points of it afterwards to fill time too,
Yeah,
because it's kind of hard to keep track of everything said.
Yeah.
If it's going to be part of what you're trying to.
Pretty fast.
And then
cover.
I had one tip for Brandi. When you say something about everything in the world is just trial and error, if you want to fill a little time, give some examples of that.
Yeah.
What are some examples of trial and error that worked out so well that, you know what I mean? Like, even if it's just two
My brain keeps
examples.
going back to NASA and just things exploding, so
That works.
we'll figure something out there.
Yep, back it up a little with that.
I like that.
I wouldn't use the word millennial so much as it is you know, for a lot of people in the room, it's probably a negative connotation. You know, I would ease into it.
Sort of aim for a younger generation.
Yeah,
or
the next up and coming
generation,
workforce,
or
and
experience.
you're going from STAR to the next workforce, and a lot of those people are going to be millennials. You know, and I would say dispel the rumor of a millennial better. Don't just go into millennial, because that's going to turn off a lot of people in the crowd, and especially people who are younger, who find that word almost
Yeah.
borderline offensive. You know, I know what you're going at, but you know, until you get to you are for them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Like,
seems a little.
you know, draw us into what you're doing.
I also want to put somewhere in there, because it was already mentioned in the STAR program, how a lot of funeral director, or a lot of people going into school are not family.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
that
like-
would be part of your why, like why is this
Right.
important?
Some of us weren't raised in the funeral industry, some of us didn't know everything about the funeral industry besides the one or two funerals that we might have been to.
Some of us that were still don't know everything there is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just
Yeah,
clarify.
absolutely.
It's funny that Steve mentioned about the
That's
whole
something we want
millennial thing. One of the things you said, Mike, in the beginning was that the problem with millennials, and maybe that, I took it
The
as millennial.
perceived problem.
Yeah, that's
That
where
is
I'm looking at where I,
Yeah,
To be really careful.
I mean,
with our
I
verbiage.
left this out here. I tried to bring it back in when I was talking about where the locals are complaining about the quality of the student coming out of the school, that they're not up to speed, and that they're lacking work ethic. So I forgot that part, and that's what needs to go back in.
but other than that, I think this is not even a critique, this is more that whole inverted triangle thing. I think it needs to be more animated. I think you need to see that collapse on top of somebody to
Ooh.
say,
Can
okay,
we do that, Mary
this is
Ann?
what happens if you don't have the
Can we have the
support.
inverted triangle collapse?
Who's the
I'm
guy
sorry.
that carries the?
We definitely can, I love that.
And then we'll all do that.
I think the visual, you
And
I
see it trying
really
to get it, but it's like, you see it crumble, like, oh,
We gotta do something with the owner part.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too, I
I
made
don't like
myself
it.
a little thing, me
I
too.
don't like it.
Okay, we're on the same page. We're-
And you also, I think, with that, I love that, I wrote that down as soon as you showed it up that day, that was like really powerful, that
Triangle,
inverted
triangle, that
triangle.
works.
But and what I was waiting for was, if you feel this way, is he ready, is he or she, your manager, ready to deal with all the weight of this? And the answer, you know, what you want is, what's the visual that is in the perfect world, instead of sitting there in that little triangle with all that weight, what does it look like? So you've already had, like, here's what you think it is, but it's really this upside down. So what's the happy medium? Is it that the bottom opens up so it's a square, or is it the manager moves to the middle and it's a circle in the middle, so he has the ability, or she has the ability to deal with? So it's almost like a bullseye, you know, you could create the other visual that leads to.
We might be able to incorporate, now, we're not gonna be able to take these responsibilities away from the manager, but what we can do is build them up so they have the strength to
So you
carry
make
it.
them bigger as
And
you
if
get
your
along.
answer to your solution is that it could be anybody who goes, then the manager's gonna train, but if the other people within, whatever
Right.
that is, are trained, then it breaks the weight equally, a little bit more equally shared, so.
Yeah, I see the
I'm
idea
saying-
with the square, because
It
by
just-
going through the professional development program, the manager becomes stronger and can support that then.
Right, and that kind of ties
makes
back.
it
Because you're
to that
only as
solution
strong
more.
as the weakest person on your team.
Right,
Yeah,
and then the
I think-
millennials be a piece of that, but they're not the focal point of all of it, because it's just another group that you have to deal with, and now you're all about, so this is another piece to it. And then the only other thing I had, the reason I asked that question to you was that reason, like I didn't, as others, I didn't get the connection very quickly with how they all fit towards the solution. And I was gonna ask, the other question I was gonna ask was, okay, so, and I think there was one that said communicating with families, was that the first? So that was the family connection that you
Yeah.
talked about, Brandi, with like the family that they're not?
Right.
Okay.
So our envisioning, which we clearly need to put across better, was he's handling, why is this gonna benefit funeral directors and funeral homes? I'm tackling, why is this gonna benefit families in your community? And then she's tackling, this is what we can do. This is our show.
So like by having this development, you're gonna be better able to make sure families feel that.
Right. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think that needs to be,
yeah, we'll work on cohesiveness on that.
because now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be like.
Right, it felt like 3 sections of sort of with the same presentation.
At the
and
very
we'll-
end. Maybe It's like
Yeah,
a final
yeah.
slide that
Triangle.
says, no, to kind of bring it all back to,
Mhm.
Go back to the triangle.
or something that
Yeah,
shows
and-
like, here's how it all connects, and here's how all the 3 pieces, like, if you do this.
Yeah.
And I think we should tie in the upholding your legacy from the third
Yeah.
conversation, just to kind
The
of tie
legacy
it through to
stuff.
bring,
Mhm.
like, how is this gonna help us when Steve was having a heart attack over there? Help him uphold his legacy.
And then Heather, you have, yeah.
I just noticed this because I do it too. Remember to breathe. Like
Why?
I like talk too
I wasn't
much
gonna get
and like
business.
don't breathe, and then you inhale really fast. So like remember, like it's okay to like take a breath and like breathe through it, and it's just because we're all nervous. So just remember to breathe.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking thing. Like,
It is.
The word, I'm telling you, well, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, I would have asked Kendra, but she had to leave. Is the worst part like sitting here, like with us as the audience, or is the worst part as the funeral directors? Is the other part to lie to us?
You don't know the words of the people in the room.
Right.
Right.
Later.
Yeah.
You know us. You
It's
know,
peers.
you know.
Right,
Yeah,
you guys
this
are
is
gonna be
way
talking
more
crap
scary.
about us later, we know it.
You guys killed it.
I was talking earlier with them, and I had thought there was more people in the group, and that was making me sweat. But
You got
I got this. Got this. Somebody else coming. Where's everybody?
Father's sitting in the front row, that's
Right.
fine.
The whole sessions.
Heather, what do you got for
My
that?
very only critique was somebody said "he" when referring to the manager, and right off the
Oh,
bat, you
yeah.
don't want to offend
They.
half the room. That's
Oh, I just said that,
a third of the room.
guys and girls, the guys and girls thing.
I know.
Yeah, just
I
do
know.
that.
They.
Very
They.
general.
I know. I know. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I knew it.
Did you hear us all hissing at you?
No, I didn't, but as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Oh, the dog.
That's okay.
No,